the gray one on the bottom is what it was.
Steve, we're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, apparently
We have
not.
to talk about it.
I hereby call this meeting of the Norwood City Council to order. All rise, please, for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you like to lead us in the prayer?
Our Father, who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in these council chambers. We pray for thy divine guidance, that we may do all things well, according to thy holy will. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Call the order. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden?
Here.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Whittington?
Here.
Ms. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Thornbury?
Here.
Mr. Sanker?
Here.
Mr. Mumper?
Here. 6 of the 7 members present. We have a quorum to have a meeting. There are no, will this be considered an amendment to the agenda by talking about the administrative reports?
You may just want to note that Mr.
Yeah,
Stith wants to speak.
in the last few minutes, I've heard that Mr. Stith, the auditor, wishes to address council on a couple matters. That will happen at administration reports a little later on. First on the agenda is the minutes from the previous meetings. What is your pleasure?
Motion to accept it.
Oh, I suppose I should specify which meetings we're talking about here, since we have 2 of them. The motion on the floor is to accept the meetings for the Norwood City Council chambers from April 14th. Yes, from April 14th, 2014. Do we have a second? Second.
Doing both.
Should we do both simultaneously? Upon the advice
As long
of,
as you make that motion.
Yeah, motion for both.
For both of
accept
them?
both letters.
will you
Second.
Both
amend
minutes.
your second to that? All right. Is there any discussion? Call the order. Call the roll.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornbury?
Yes?
Mr. Sanker?
Yes.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes. All members present voting yes. Motion has been accepted. So we now have did we do the official reading now? Or was that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right, we are moving on to, there are no requests to address council on agenda items. There are, to our knowledge, no reports of standing committees of council. There are no third reading of ordinances. There are no second reading of ordinances. There are no introductory readings of ordinances. There are no introductory readings of resolutions. We move to administrative reports. Turn it over to Mr. Stith, the auditor. A couple matters. Fire away.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's very unusual not saying Madam President. I don't think I've ever said that. But thank you, Mr. President. I did want to just give a quick report that the 2016 tax budget has been completed. Copies are in the auditor's office. Anybody that's interested can come by and pick it up and review it. We are having a public hearing on the tax budget the first meeting, which is the second Tuesday of June. This is the first step in preparing the budget for 2016, and it basically shows the state and the county what our intention is to use our property tax and other taxes that come from outside of the city. We have to be able to show that we're going to use those responsibly. I should have a copy of this up on the auditor's website Thursday afternoon. And that is norwoodauditor.com. And if you want to just download the PDF file, or you can come by the office and we'll run a copy of it off for you. Previous year's tax budgets and previous year's budgets and expenses and revenues are all on the norwoodauditor.com website that you can review. The other thing that I wanted to bring up in Finance Committee, we had discussed, we had somebody from the health department come by and bring up the idea that they're in a position for possibly hiring another health inspector. Previously, we've always had a sanitarian and a health inspector doing inspections for the city. The health inspector would deal with complaints, people that have high grass. Your neighbors have tires in the backyard that are holding water and mosquitoes are breeding there. You see things that are unhealthy in your neighborhood, like couches on the front porch that are collecting water and mildew, old mattresses sitting around, old refrigerators sitting out that could be dangerous to children. All of these things are things that are done by a health inspector, but we've not had a health inspector since, I believe, 2012. We have a sanitarian who does all the health inspection for businesses, the food inspections, the food certificates, but not that inspector that goes around and investigates all of the complaints. Other members of the health department have been picking up the slack and doing that, but really there are things that are falling through the cracks. The previous sanitarian has now retired. He was at the top of the pay scale. We've hired a new sanitarian with experience, and she's come on near the bottom of the pay scale, the starting pay scale for the city. So if we look at the difference in cost between that sanitarian position, it's about $13,500 a year. Total cost, that's pension, workers' comp, Medicare, everything. The total cost for a health inspector would be right around $43,000 with everything in it. That's not their salary, that's all expenses, including pension. So we also look at, since 2012, the health department has been bringing in extra revenue every year through their birth and death certificates that anyone can come by and for $25 get a copy of their birth or death certificate, or loved one's death certificate, for anywhere in the state of Ohio. And they've had significant revenues brought in, and I think the projected revenues for that this year is between $30,000 and $40,000, but definitely up by at least $16,000 over the time that the old health inspector left. So if we do the $13,000 saving, $13,500, add about the $16,000 increase in the certificates that are being issued, we're at $29,500 so far. That is either savings or additional revenue that's come in since they left in 2012. So that means the city's really got to come up with about $14,500 more in addition to that additional revenue and the savings we've got to pay for this health inspector. We would basically have to appropriate a total of $45,000 to that key. But what would this mean for the city? This is a quality of life issue. And maybe as auditor, I should just talk about numbers, but as a resident, I think that having somebody that is going around helping improve the quality of life for the citizens is a positive step. We still will not end the year in a positive as far as our finances go. We're digging our way out of the hole that we were in over the past 3 or 4 years here. We're constantly moving in a more positive direction, but we are going to owe at the end of the year. We're not going to be caught up on the C9 trust. Probably the final payment for police and fire pension will be carried through to January, like it was last year. And we're probably going to be anywhere between $750,000 and $800,000 in the hole at the end of the year. This would equate to probably another $45,000 in addition to that, depending on what our revenues are. But we've run at a negative for the past several years, meaning there were some bills that should have been paid in December or with December's money that were paid in January or February. We're caught up on every other bill except for the C9 trust and the police and fire pension. We're within 45 days on that, and we continue to make payments to it to get caught up. Retirees' health care is caught up. All of our vendors are caught up. I think now is the time that we should be looking towards bringing our services back up to the level they were. But just an idea from the auditor. If anybody has any questions on it, I'm happy to
Any
answer
questions for the auditor? Mr. Stinker?
No question, but a comment. We discussed this at Finance. The last couple years, when we were in a worse financial position than we are now, which we're still, as Mr. Sis stated, we're not quite out of the woods, but even back then, we were not. But we did work with the health department in a number of areas. And one was when the health inspector left and took another position, they agreed, hey, listen, we'll do without that for now, and we'll all pitch in and try and at least maintain the basic inspections as basically pretty well as people called. They'd go out and react instead of being out a little proactive. At the same time, the chairman of the health department over there, Dr. Prino, I mean, he worked with us in a number of other areas to kind of cut their costs, to maintain the health department in the most economical fashion that we could and still offer the services that people were used to providing. At the time, at finance, we did discuss and we did report out that we were going to look into what the cost would be to bring back on an entry-level health inspector in order to get out, especially this time of year when the grass is growing, trash is out, and it's really more of a necessity than a luxury. And so we did say, once we saw the numbers, would be something that be worth pursuing. Based upon the numbers, I think it may be something that we should look at pursuing and see if report to Mr. Gears about getting with civil service to see what requirements are going to be needed in order to either have a test or be able to hire somebody into this position, or post the position, I believe is the formal process, and to see if we can move forward with that. I think maybe that would be the next step, and then at the next finance meeting, we could reappropriate the funds to make something like this happen. But in the meantime, I would like to suggest that we do send the safety service director a letter of our intent that based on the numbers, we think we can justify going out to look at hiring a health inspector, in the near future here. So in what he needs to do, what the process would be in order for that to be accomplished. So I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter to him and start that process. I don't know that we necessarily have to have a motion, but I make a motion that we do start that process, and if we can get a second on that, I think we move forward.
Mr. Member, your second. Any discussion, any questions for the auditor or for Mr. Sanker?
I would like to add one thing, because Mr. Sanker did talk about working with the health department, and from a financial standpoint, they have really gone a long way over the past 4 years in making cuts and doing with less and finding outside revenue sources to help support their own department. I'd say they did those things more than any other department. And if anyone is deserving of, I wouldn't say being rewarded, but going back to a level that they were a few years ago, it's definitely them. And just that one key, which is health sanitation, to let you know, in 2011, it was $154,000, $400,000. You'll see that on norwoodauditor.com website. In 2014, $81,811. So when you see a department make a cut of $70,000, almost a 50% cut in their cost, I think that it's important to help them back out.
Mr. Sanker.
That's just to follow up on what Mr. Sitz was saying. We did both comment about the health department and their cooperation, and they did go a long way. But again, as you stated, the other departments around the city need to be commended too for the help that they've done over the last couple years too, to help work through these things, and hopefully we can work with them in the future to make sure we can dig out of the hole we're almost out of. So, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Ms. Allen?
I'm just glad that this is happening, because I think quality of life issues are a really important thing and make a big difference on all of us. So thank you for being proactive, and thank you, Health Department, for working on cuts. And I'm glad it looks like we can be able to reinstate a health inspector. So thank you.
Thank you. The motion on the floor is to draft a letter regarding the health inspector. Is there any other discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Braden,
Yes.
Mr. Whittington,
Yes.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Thornberry,
Yes.
Mr. Sanker,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion passes. We now move to other requests to address council. We have a request from Mike Flischel to address. Mr. Flischel, if you'd like to step up to the microphone. Please, for the record, on camera, your name and your street address, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
I'm Mike Fleschel. My address is 3976 Waterston Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45227. I work for Multicolor. It's 4500 Beach Street, and we have an issue with the stop sign. I called last week, well, about 2 months ago. Somebody actually got hit there. A car hit him, and he bounced up and bounced back up, and the guy took off. Last Thursday, we worked 12-hour shifts. The guy was getting off at 7 o'clock. There's a wall that goes around, and there's an entrance that we go right to the sidewalk. Well, at that time, there was a car ran right through the stop sign going about 60 miles an hour, did not even bother stopping. So I'm not even looking out for the co-workers, for other people that uses that sidewalk and that intersection. Also, on that Friday, my supervisor, my plant manager, here's a couple cards he gave me. My plant manager went out for lunch on Friday, and this happened about 1 or 2 o'clock, I'm going to say. And there's a stop sign right there on top of Rutherford Road, right before you hit the bridge. And he ran that stop sign, which you can do that, turning right. He picked up speed, and he went right straight through the stop sign again. Now, there's been quite a few incidents going through there. I've been talking to co-workers. My one question is, we couldn't think of when you guys actually took that stoplight out of there. There was a stoplight there for a few years. I've been there for 24 years, and it seems like we always have this issue. And I'm afraid somebody's gonna eventually get hurt at that intersection. I don't know how we could stop happening, but it's getting really bad the last 2 or 3 weeks.
And to be clear, precisely which intersection were you talking about? I'm sorry. I was
Beach
thinking-
and Robertson.
Beach and Robertson.
It's right there by Angelo's.
Right. Well, it's a block down because there's a four-way stop there.
Right, that's the one I'm talking about, right there by the Angelo's intersection with the ball field, Angelo's.
Right, and you want, it has four-way stop.
Yes, it's a four-way stop, but
And you
people does not stop.
And your question is merely an enforcement issue,
Yes.
not putting in a new stop sign.
No.
It's an enforcement issue.
Something needs to be kind of done because it's getting out of hand. And you got people walking their kids across the street. It's just not just the coworkers that I work with. There's probably about 100 people. We work 12-hour shifts. You know, people go in and out of the building, and and somebody's just going to come on down. You think they're going to stop, well, they're just going to keep on going.
Okay. Have you discussed this with the police?
I called the police last Thursday. I don't know who I spoke with. Very nice gentleman. I just kind of went over the things with him and what happened. I told him, I said, I wasn't trying to tell him how to do his job, but, when you park up to that four-way intersection there and you park up real close, of course they're going to stop. But if you park down a little bit, you're still going to see them speed right through that stop sign. And that's what our issue is because, one guy was just like from here to where you're at, and he went right through that stop sign.
Okay.
If he'd have been there 10 minutes later and that car didn't see him, he could be gone.
Yep.
And I am representing Multicolor. My plant manager knows I did come tonight. So I just hope that we could maybe settle this with, I don't know how you guys could do it. But we're going to keep an eye on it too, so if it does keep happening, we could kind of keep in touch with you. What is a good number to call? Because I wasn't sure about the meeting tonight. I had to call. I called. Did I talk to you today, or I talked to somebody and they told me the meeting was tonight? Because I just got off work at 7 o'clock and I'm so. I just want to get a point across to the guys know what's going on. So if there's anything that we could do to, I mean, the officer did tell me that if we see somebody doing that, try to get their license plate. But a lot of times when your reaction is like, wow, did you see how fast he was going through that stop sign? You don't think of that. So.
Any,
Well,
Mr.
just
Breeden?
a comment, just a question. Being that there's a four-way stop sign already there, stop, is there something else that you can think of that might be better there?
I really don't. I mean, because we tried the stoplight, and then you took the stoplight down. I don't know what year they took it down. I don't remember. We was trying to think about that at work today. I've got guys that I work with, been there 35, 40 years.
You're talking about a blinking light?
Yeah, no, it was regular.
No, it was
light.
regular.
It was a regular stoplight.
at one point. or-
Yes, yes. And then once you took that out, we put the stop sign up, it got more to where people say, well, there's nobody coming, there's both ways, and they don't even stop.
Do you think somebody got hurt there the other day?
Somebody got hurt about, not the other day, it was about a couple months ago. The other guy was walking out last Thursday and seen the guy go right past the stop sign. But I'm just saying, if he didn't see anybody else coming the other side, I'm just not worried about my coworkers, and the pedestrians got kids with the ball field and everything else being over there. It's just, I just think something needs to be, because I think somebody's gonna really get hurt. I mean, I don't know what,
Mr. Sanker?
Just a comment, yeah, I have been in contact with some folks over at your plant in regards to the situation there, and yes, there was years ago where there was a light there, but that was taken down. There were a number of lights around the city when they upgraded some of the signalization that they come in and they tell us, well, these aren't, justified to have a light here. I mean, so it was done years ago, and like you said, you've been there 24 years. So, but, so we've had some discussions here about a couple options that potentially could be done there. Kind of walking through that right now, and like in the conversation with some of the people at the plant there, when the police are sitting there, they can write tickets all day, which they do, but they can't be there all the time.
and I understand that.
And the hard thing is enforcing responsibility amongst, people, I mean, they come around that corner, like you said, and that sign there, one of the things that we did discuss was about getting in contact with Cincinnati, because actually that sign there, that right turn on, you don't have to stop on right there at,
Yes.
Brotherton, and that's actually in Cincinnati. So as soon as they see that, like you said, they just keep on coming. So it's something where, that was one of the things we discussed, was about getting with them on, possibly taking down at least, that part of the sign, make everybody stop there. But we are looking at a couple things, and hopefully I can get your information too. I have Debbie's information over there.
Debbie, yeah, Debbie did come
I know
and talk to me. Said
she's
you-
off this week, and she told me you'd be coming.
Yes.
But there's, we honestly appreciate you guys standing up and expressing the concern and showing, because if we relied on the people that were having their kids play at the ball field, they're only there once or twice a week, where you guys are there every day
Yes.
and see what goes on. So I do think we're going to work with you to try to find something to slow things down, and
If you would like,
But-
if you would like to have my number after this is over, whatever, I can give you my phone number, you can get contact with me.
Yeah.
And if I hear anything else that ever happens like this, I can contact, somebody and,
you just follow up on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
No, that'd be fine, or I can get that, and you can have my information too, and that way I can take it directly, to everyone as well. So, but we do sincerely appreciate being contacted about it before something actually terrible happens, or, to say the least. So, but yes.
Yeah, and I interjected in terms of contact, there is a separate Norwood City Council webpage,
Okay.
and it has contact information for all of us on there, so
Okay.
feel free to talk to.
Okay,
any
I
of
will
us
do that. I
anytime
just
you
didn't know
want.
how to really, this is the
yeah.
first time I ever spoke up like this, and,
We're glad you do it.
and
We need
they,
more of that.
they sent me over here, and I thought, well, I'll come over and see how it goes. And
Oh, we appreciate it.
my girlfriend just said, "Are you nervous coming up here?" I said, "No, I'm fine." But now I'm up here a little longer. It's kind of,
Oh, yeah. I think we feel.
Not bad.
thank you.
All right, thank you very
Well,
much,
I'm,
sir.
like I say, 12 hours, I'm ready to go to.
Yeah, I was saying,
But if there's anything, would you like for me to give you my,
I'll give you my stuff here.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there are no other requests to address council. Do we have any unfinished business that anyone would like to bring up at this point in time? And no unfinished business? Well, let's wait till Joe gets done. He's usually got more finished and unfinished business than any of us combined.
Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Did we go ahead and go, or?
Oh, yeah, you're.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So any unfinished business? Anything else, Mr. Sanker, from the unfinished business category?
Well, just briefly, this past, well, actually yesterday, this past Monday, the American Legion had their Memorial Day celebration up at Victory Park. It was rather well attended despite the rain, and the speakers that were there actually do, come up with some good words of ways of making you think that, hey, we need to be a little more thankful for what we have here. I think we lose sight of the freedoms we have because of the people that lost their lives, to protect, our freedoms here. And it was a very good ceremony, so I would like to thank Mr. Leidenheimer and the folks at the American Legion for doing that, and the fire department for coming up and raising and lowering the flag. Mr. Nye for doing the taps, and it was just a nice affair. And just a reminder, typically, people say, when? Well, it's always Memorial Day on that Monday at 1 o'clock. So, it's tough to always get information out. And I know the Legion tries, to get that information out. And but anyhow, that's when it is every year. So, just if it's Memorial Day around 1 o'clock, show up. And but it was a very, very nice affair, and we do thank them for putting that on. So, thanks.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? Mr. Sanker?
Yeah, there were some folks that had some, sent some notes and had some calls in regards to yesterday, actually around 10:30 in the morning. There's a loud rumble, and came over here. It was a flyover for a Memorial Day celebration, I believe, up at Eden Park, but they actually were F-15s that were low enough you could read the bottom of them. And they did make like a circle around 71 and head back, so it was around for a, so if people were concerned or had that was the flyover for Memorial Day celebration. So, thanks.
Any other unfinished business? Mr. Sanker?
Yes, question through the chair to the law director.
Yes, sir.
Chris, I was curious if there's any update on quality and how, if there's any movement.
Yes, thank you. The Quality Hotel is tentatively scheduled to be sold to a buyer called Unlimited Hotels. That its closing date is scheduled for May 29th. We are keeping our fingers crossed that closing goes through. Unlimited Hotels have tentatively reached out to the city and provided information about the project that they're proposing. After looking over the project, it's going to be a good project for the city, really take an eyesore and turn it into a focal point both locally and nationally in terms of what they're proposing. So we are keeping our fingers crossed, and as we learn more, we will certainly pass that on to council so that they have an update on what's going on.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Sanker?
Another question through the chair to the law director. Chris, you know, we were talking about the health inspectors, and this is everybody's favorite time of year when everybody's calling about high grass.
Correct.
And when we go out, the city goes out and we actually cut the grass and then we assess it to their tax duplicate or down at the.
Yes, correct.
Do you know if and when we ever recoup any of those funds? I mean, it's when the properties are sold, and then it kind of comes back as part of that to us. Is that typically the process, or?
There's a couple of processes. The first thing that we do is we publish a notice in a newspaper every year in the spring, notifying all residents that they are required to keep the grass at a certain height. Otherwise, the city will post a notice and cut the grass for them. After that notice is posted in the newspaper, both the health department and building department go out, and if there is a property with high grass, a notice is posted primarily to let Public Works know that on their next round to cut the grass. Public Works, after they cut the grass, then presents a list of properties that they have cut to the law department, and we prepare an ordinance for council to authorize placing the lien on the property. The way those liens are collected, they're usually collected either by paying the taxes on the property, or they're collected when the property is sold, or if the taxes are not collected and the property is not sold, then the property becomes eligible for foreclosure. And the county will then file a foreclosure action against the property and sell that property through a sheriff's sale. And then once that sheriff's sale is completed, we get a portion of the proceeds. Sometimes if a property is not sold at foreclosure, the city has the option of acquiring it through our land bank program. And we've acquired several properties through that land bank program. And we keep a running index of all those properties that we acquired. The park at Williams and Ellesmere was a property that we acquired through that land bank program, and that's how we were able to develop that into our Williams and Ellesmere Park.
Mr. Sanker, anything else? All right, any other unfinished business? Do we have any new business on anyone's mind? Mr. Sanker?
Yes, Mr. President, I just wanted to let people aware that in July, we always have the Norwood Day Parade and also Norwood Day at Old Coney. The Norwood Chamber of Commerce sponsors the parade, and the Norwood Professional Business Women Association, they take care of the celebration out at Old Coney. And I think I want to bring it up today to make people aware of when that's coming up, because we always find out that, later on, it's, well, we didn't know anything about it. Well, it's July the 21st and the 22nd. The 21st is the Tuesday, and that is when the parade will be held on Montgomery Road, the Norwood Day Parade. And then July the 22nd is the celebration at Old Coney. And hopefully you won't get stuck on the Ferris wheel out there, as happened this past weekend. But I did want to get that out, and we'll continue to bring that up and to make people aware, because now's the time. If you have an organization, a group, a church that you want to enter a float, or people to get your word out, or to let people know that you're here in town and you have something to celebrate and to advertise, you can contact the Norwood Chamber of Commerce, and Kathy Walters would be more than happy to send you an application for you to enter your group, organization, float into the Norwood Day Parade on July 21st. Thank you.
I'd piggyback on that by saying businesses also can buy things, and it's a great way for a business to show their support for the city and also make their presence known in our city. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Any other new business? Mr. Sanker?
Yes, actually, to follow up on that, prior to that, on July the 4th, we are going to have the Norwood Hometown Fireworks again down at Waterworks Park down there. And so they are accepting volunteers to help on that process, and also donations as far as offset the cost of the fireworks as well. But that will be held obviously on July the 4th down at Waterworks Park, Shea Stadium.
Again, I'd amend to that there is opportunity for businesses to place ads in the program that would be distributed to, we've had anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people show up for this event. It's a worthy cause to support and a good way to get your word out. Any other new business, Mr. Sanker?
Yes, Mr. President. One other announcement of upcoming event, and I kick myself for not bringing my calendar with me. I should have put it in my phone like most other people here. However, the National Police Night Out is coming up in June, and I don't have the exact date for it, but we'll get that word out and get it published. But it's always a great affair. Our police department here puts on a great, lack of a better word, party, where you can come and meet and greet with the police officers. The fire department takes place. We have police and law enforcement officials from all over the county that typically attend, and that's down at the parking lot. Typically, at the past couple years have been at Lower Waterworks Park as well. So we'll get that date out. I apologize, but I believe it's a little bit later on in June. So thank you.
Any other new business? We're good. We'll move on to communications. We have a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding the monthly earnings tax report.
To Norwood City Council from Chuck Barlow, Earnings Tax Department. 5/18/2015 RE Monthly Earnings Tax Report. Attached is the monthly report for April 2015, indicating collections in the amount of $1,963,113.37. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 7.68% from 2014. Should you have any questions, please contact the Earnings Tax Department.
We have a motion to accept the letter. Mr. Mumper, do we have a second? Mr. Whittington? Call the roll.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornberry?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting yes. The motion carries. Do we have a motion to excuse the absent member? Mr. Whittington?
Make a motion to excuse the absent member.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Braden. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornberry?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting yes, the motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Braden, seconded by Mr. Sanker. Call the roll.
Mr. Braden?
Yes.
Mr. Whittington?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Thornberry?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting yes, this meeting is hereby adjourned.